weekend, and they had a controversy where one of the guests in the audience that had Tourette's shouted out the N-word while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were presenting on stage. And that in itself is controversial, but there was the added controversy of that making live television, whereas there was like another part of the show that was able to be edited out. And so I wanted to kind of get your take on this, because there is the issue if he truly does have Tourette's, and this is unfortunate, but also the editing process. Like, how do you just feel how the N-word, it not being edited, how it played out, and then how it has such controversy socially here?
That's a good question, because there's a couple, different things at play here. Mm-hmm. So first of all, they could have edited this out, and it's hard to speak to anyone's intentions, why it was or was not edited out, the oversight moment of why was this allowed to play out. What it does do by allowing it to play out is create room for a much greater conversation. Mm-hmm. Why this word is given so much power.
Right.
And who's giving it this power. The expectation of how a black person is supposed to feel when they hear this word. That's, to me, that's the most important nuance of it, because you're looking at two very successful men at the top of their game.
Right.
And they're enjoying a moment of accomplishment and success. And then you have an individual in the back of the room that has Tourette's, and he hollers out this word. Mm-hmm. So, how do they feel about this, and how are they supposed to feel about it? And I can't speak for them, but I can put myself in their shoes. Mm-hmm. And imagine how I would feel about it. And personally, I think they're completely unaffected mm-hmm. by this. See, there's this expectation that when a black person hears this word, that it's supposed to be this magical force over them.
Right.
No matter how successful they are, no matter where they are in life, there's supposed to be some kind of a magical force that takes place that brings them down. Mm-hmm. This is, don't forget who you are or what you are, et cetera, et cetera. But when you're looking at Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan, they never were niggas.
Right.
They never were niggers or niggas. Mm-hmm. So this word does not have any magic over them. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I can't speak for them personally, but I'm sure they just thought it was an unfortunate moment.
Yeah.
Not only for everything that was happening, but for this guy with the Tourette's or whatever. Mm-hmm. If, for example, if I go to the zoo, mm-hmm. I'm at the zoo, and I go see the monkeys or the apes or whatever, and one of the apes throws shit at the glass.
Right.
I don't take personal offense at it.
Right.
Lots of people are going to get shit thrown at the glass that look like me and that don't look like me. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't have any magical power over me. It doesn't mean that it's going to make me reevaluate who I am or what I am because an ape threw shit at the glass.
Right. It says more about the ape in the situation it's in than anything having to do with you.
Yeah, and that is not directed at this man that have Tourette's, because that could have been a legitimate moment. Is this, mm-hmm. You can talk to people with Tourette's, and I've heard a lot of different takes on what Tourette's means and the things that are shouted out and why certain things are shouted out. And so we can sit here and we can dissect that all day.
Right.
But we're going to stay focused on this particular word and how this word has no magic over every Black person. There's no, right. It does not have a magical power.
Who do you think, pushes more for not using it? Because there's, hip hop and, Black artists that use it throughout their music, whatever. I have no feelings about it. But then you have like academia and other sides of the arts that really have, strong personal feelings about the N word.
I mean, that's a good point, and it has. It's a culture within a culture. Like you said, you have the hip hop culture, you have the academic culture, etc. And so let's take, NWA, niggas with attitudes. You've got Too Short, you've got Ice-T, you've got Dr. Dre, you've got Snoop, you've got Jay-Z, you've got Nas, you've got so many unbelievably genius writers that they are. Poetic is an understatement.
Right.
So why do they use this word and why do they use it so much? And there's a genius behind it. There's a genius behind the use of that word. So when you have hip hop culture that puts this word in their music, they're not, that the use of that word is not just for people that look like them. The use of that word is for everyone. And what I mean is, we know you don't have to go all the way back to Africa to understand the healing power of music. And if you want to journey back to Africa, we can go there. And you can see an undeniable proof in the healing power and the shamanic power of music, and that the use of that word does the same thing. You see, if you have a generation of white kids that grows up and they're singing along with NWA and they're singing along with Ice-T and they're singing along with Dr. Dre and Snoop, et cetera, and they're saying, niggas with attitudes, they're singing their favorite rap songs and it has that word in it. What happens is, as these little white kids, suburban or urban, whatever, they grow up and they become adults. The use of that word in that music, what it does subconsciously is undermine the systemic racial system that is so many people like to deny that it exists. So Black people that take offense to them using that word may or may not understand the psychological effect of millions of white kids growing up and feeling the inclusive power of being able to use that word, that have not reached a certain level of adulthood, and they have not yet been initiated into the system of systemic racial, et cetera, et cetera. Before they hit that point, they are initiated into a culture of, you're actually one of us. So what happens is, when they do become adults and they participate in the economic and social machine of America, what they do is they undermine systemic racism.
They want no part. They don't want to participate.
They don't want to participate in it. They destroy that system, and the system of the systemic racial system begins to corrode and collapse much sooner. Now, that's not to, undermine people that take offense, because you have some academics. I remember watching an interview with Jay-Z and Oprah. So she asks, she's giving her take on why she doesn't like the word, and Sean gives his take on why he uses the word. And there's a generational divide there. So you do have two very successful African Americans that have come through the same swamp and the same murky situation to accumulate the wealth and the success that they have, but yet they see the use of that word totally different. Mm-hmm. And Oprah comes from a generation where the generation just before her, that word had a different power over them.
Yeah.
Now, because she's comes from the generation that butts right up against that generation, she sees it as a dishonor to use that word. Right. So she doesn't like it and she doesn't want to use that word. And that's completely valid. Yeah. Her perspective and her take on that is completely valid. Where Sean doesn't come from that generation. He comes from the generation after Oprah. So he's one step removed of that. And so source and creativity creates a different type of medicine to the pioneers of hip hop and to the following generations of hip hop, a different vaccine, a different type of medicine to heal American culture is communicated to them. Mm-hmm. And part of that vaccine is a generation of black, white, or whatever, everybody using that word. So by the time you are 13 years old and you feel that inclusivity of having used that word and not being looked at in any kind of way because you sing those songs, along with those songs, Wu-Tang and all these guys, by the time you come an adult, the participation in systemic racism is anathema to you. Right. You're not going to do it. And that system is going to collapse within a generation.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about white artists that use it like Quentin Tarantino, who's, well respected, his dialogue is phenomenal, but he does get a lot of flack for using it a lot in his films?
Yeah, I'm a little biased to Tarantino because he's, one of my favorite writer-directors, being a screenwriter. What he does with the craft of writing and directing is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Okay. And having said that, you have to take in, consideration. You have the man that is Quentin Tarantino, and then you have the artist, the creator, the poet that is Quentin Tarantino. And that exists with everybody. It's you master a craft, and then your personal experience is what you bring to that craft mastery. Mm-hmm. Now, Quentin Tarantino grew up in an environment that he was around black culture. He was fully submerged in black culture. Mm-hmm. Okay. And he's probably heard that word as much as any black person in social settings. So he sees this. Now, what happens is Tarantino, as an artist and as a creator, he sits down and he writes and he isolates himself, no doubt, and he comes up with his scripts and his dialogue and his music and all these things. And for him to leave that word out of what he's trying to create is going to feel largely dishonest to him as an artist. It's going to feel dishonest.
It's inauthentic.
It's inauthentic because what Tarantino is trying to do in some ways is exactly what hip hop is trying to do. Mm-hmm. And it's an initiation process. And by using that word, he takes this magical power out of it. Mm-hmm. It's just one of the things he is communicating without saying is this is just a word. Right. And it can be used within certain contexts and with certain tones and certain conversations to mean many different things.
Right.
And he also comes with the validation of many great artists with him.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson, Kerry Washington, and so many African Americans that has worked with Tarantino that would not work with him if there was any vitriol behind anything that he's trying to create, or you're trying to make Black people or African Americans look a certain kind of way. The embarrassing scene that he puts in Django, showing the stupidity of the Klan.
Right. Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah, he shows just how bumfuck this whole concept is.
Right.
And he undermines this entire concept that's driven by hate, jealousy, or envy, or whatever the motivations of it is. He undermines that entire process in one scene. And he does the exact same thing in the reverse whenever he used that word.
Yeah.
He validates an entire expression in a culture that has taken that word that it was meant to demean or dehumanize, and he shows that it has none of that power. It's just a word.
Yeah.
You see?
I have a question. In the climate we have where everything is so politically correct, and this word is like a major no-no to say, do you think white people are making it just as powerful as Black people that get offended by it and feel personal about it? Do you think it's both, or is it one-sided? Like, who's giving it the power?
Well, that's an interesting question, because on both sides of the aisle, you have white people that feel that way, that feel like, you're this word, you're this, the NA or the hard R, whatever the case may be. There's white people that will live and die with that feeling. And on the other side of the aisle, you have Black people that feel the same way. No white person can say that word around me, the NA or the hard R or whatever. I don't care. They can't say that word around me. Well, what happens is that Black person is working in concert with that white person that feels that way. It's a marriage of opposites. You see what I mean? And that's an esoteric or an occultic concept that most people, won't understand. So, for example, you've got Spike Lee, which is a phenomenal director. He comes from a family of academics. He takes offense to Tarantino's expression of creativity. Now, I like Spike's movies. I like his movies. I like his creativity. He was bringing a lot of awareness to some things that nobody was bringing awareness to at a time when Spike was making his movies. Do the Right Thing, for example. Jungle Fever. Like Spike he's got a fucking footprint. He doesn't like that word.
Yeah.
He comes from an academic background. So, I mean, does he have the right to feel that way? Obviously, of course he does. Would he have been offended had he been standing on that stage in place of Michael and Delroy when that word was shouted out? I don't personally think he would have. I don't think Spike Lee has ever seen himself as a nigger or a nigga, so he wouldn't take any more offense to that being yelled out than they did, or I would, no more than we would take offense to a gorilla throwing shit at the glass. You see what I mean? So, but his personal take on that word is, you know, he is more representative of those generations that Oprah is representative of. So they have a particular ideology behind the use of that word.
What about the white people that they feel shamed to say the N-word, even in like playful, like they're singing it along with the song and, you know, sing it. And then it's instant like, oh my God, I just said that. You know what I mean? You know, if they're in company, if they say it by themselves, like they feel like shamed for saying it. What does that kind of mean socially?
You know, it's really, really hard to understand how white people think and feel. But I understand the question you're saying. Now, what I do know is that for the hundreds of hip hop artists that use that word, that's exactly what they're going after. That's what they don't want them to feel. Because they're trying to initiate them into a culture and into a language that when they become adults, they won't feel shame for using that word if they're singing along with hip hop music or, you know what I mean?
Or they're just trying to be with their buddies and like, you know, be cool. Like
it's, it's all about context.
Yeah.
If someone uses the word around me and what is his intentions or what is his motivations for using the word? If we're singing, you know, if it's about hip hop music or something, and he's singing his favorite song or something, and this word comes on, does he have to silence himself? That's ridiculous. Saying that word in those songs, in that music, is the exact same it is literally the vaccine to systemic racism. Now, how a group of hip hop artists understood that, or if all of them understand it, or some of them understand it at the highest level of artistry, Jay-Z, Nas, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely, I think they understand exactly what they're doing. They have a vaccine hidden in their music. Did Ice Cube understand that? Absolutely. They named the group Niggas with Attitude. That's the vaccine for America right there.
Right.
And so everyone is not going to feel the same. If someone is saying the word in my presence to be disrespectful, I'm just going to remove myself from that situation. I'm not going to feel disrespected. It's going to be an expose of what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, it says more about who's saying it than it says about you.
Yeah, of course. It's going to tell me more about this person. It's not going to, my skin isn't, first of all, you can't survive in this country with thin skin. I think we should realize that by now.
Right.
So, and so I don't have thin skin in a way where the use of this word is just ruined my day and I'm reevaluating my entire existence because somebody, used this word in my presence. So all is lost.
Right.
It just doesn't have that effect on me. And probably because I grew up as a little boy, one of the first songs I ever heard was The Message, which, Grandmaster Flash, Sugar Hill Band, Run DMC. This is my introduction to hip hop. Now, it was not the use of that word that they used as much. It would be the next generation of hip hop geniuses that would use that word, because that, Melly Mel, Grandmaster Flash, Run DMC, and these guys are a lot closer to the generations that Oprah and Michael Jordan come from. So they may or may not have a different ideology about the use of that word, you see. But when you get into that next generation of hip hop artists and that word starts appearing a lot more, that's the vaccine. You know, a perfect example would be the movie with Chris Rock, and they did like a hip hop mockumentary, and I can't.
Was it CB4?
That's CB4. Yeah. And you had the little white boy in the suburbs singing along with the music, and his parents were upset. Now, if this kid grows up in the world, there's a reason why. You know, these kids, you go into the suburbs and you see a poster of Ice Cube and NWA on the little white boy's wall. You see Ice, Wu-Tang. Every suburb in America got Wu-Tang on every little white kid.
Oh, you couldn't escape the Chronic.
You couldn't escape the Chronic. Dr. Dre. You couldn't escape Ice-T. You see what I mean? You couldn't escape Too Short. You couldn't escape this. Those guys came with the vaccine for systemic racism. Yeah. Now, whether you black or white and you didn't realize they came with the vaccine, you know, I mean, just you need to understand the power and the magic of music, the power and the magic of the spoken word, the power and the magic of African Americans' connection to the healing process of the drum beat.
I have a question. How does, with what you're just saying right there, it takes me back to the scene in Sinners where they're going through the music, and it kind of does this montage of like music from the past where you have like the shamanic drums, and then you have like a Jimi Hendrix, and you have like all these different things like melding around. Is it kind of like similar to what you're saying, where it's just everything is all like all one?
Sinners. I mean, you know, if you want to unpack Sinners, that needs its own conversation, because he put so much in Sinners to unpack, man. And so, but yes, absolutely, he touched on that without even using the word. He's showing you the power, the magic, and the majesty of what music can do. And so he shows that concept through, because in writing and in the medium of movie making, etc., you have to show versus tell. Right. And so he shows you that history that goes through Jimi Hendrix, and it goes through hip hop. You see a b-boy, you see drums, you see all these things. And so he's basically showing you what I'm telling you through that healing power of music and the magic of the vaccine that music carries. You see, and that goes all the way back to the Black experience is expressed through the music we create. Right. And the music we listen to and enjoy. And you can see how the Black experience is consistently changing over time, and it's reflected in that music. I mean, not to dive too deep, but right now, hip hop is considered that, many people think that hip hop is taking a nosedive because of, the lyrics and what you see, the behavior and lyrics of a lot of female artists and a lot of young Black artists, which they are still just journalists towards their environment or their experience. How can you take Sexy Red and all of these Black female artists and what we consider an expression of sexuality? How do we look at that in isolation without tying it all the way back to the experience that they're carrying in their DNA that began in slavery, right, where black girls were completely over-sexualized, where they were bought and sold, and they were defined according to their sexual expression. You see what I mean? And so, but we want to forget about that, and we want to sweep that under the rug. These girls, Sexy Red and all of them that are over-sexualizing music to a degree, this has nothing to do with what is in their DNA from the experience of slavery, be turning 12, 13 years old, and unfortunately even younger than that, and your property, your cattle, and you're sold and you're bartered based on your physical appearance and based on your sexuality. Well, guess what? That music now is those chickens come home to roost, not just for the African American experience, but for the American experience entirely.
Yeah, and to add on to that too, like even, it's the African American experience, but you also have what's happening now with everyone, even with the Jeffrey Epstein things. Like all of these things are coming home, and it is what they're seeing. It is everywhere. Even, what you're seeing on TV, on Netflix, in movies, sexuality is like shoved in your face everywhere from a young age.
Yeah, well, those are different conversations. The Epstein and the OnlyFans things, that's a different conversation from the use of the N-word. It does tie in. You're not like completely off track, but it does tie in, but not so much as so that we want to continue it in this conversation. We can do that in a different conversation.